Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k, the Necrons channel. Now we're on episode number 6 of this mini-series. It wasn't meant to be a mini-series, but hey, we're getting on with it, right? And we've been looking at the army rules and detachment rules for each of the factions that Warhammer community have released so far. They've released some previews of those rules. Now they've also released data sheets of a couple of units and weapons and a stratagem and all that jazz. We're not going to go through the data sheets and the stratagem. We're purely looking at the army rule as well as the detachment rule, trying to look for a weakness in the rule, and if we can't find a weakness, at least we're making us aware of it, so that when 10th edition does drop, we kind of know what to look out for and what the play is. So guys, yeah, make sure you are subscribed, because once 10th edition does come, you know what we're doing. We're going to be breaking into the Necron Codex, as well as all the Know Your Foes in full for all the other factions. But for today, we're looking at the Leagues of VOTANN, and the army rule to begin is the Eye of the Ancestors. So, Eye of the Ancestors, let's get into it. So if your army faction is Leagues of VOTANN, each time an enemy unit destroys a Leagues of VOTANN unit from your army, that unit, so our unit, is going to gain a judgment token. An enemy unit can never have more than 2 judgment tokens. Any further judgment tokens are basically ignored. Now before we get into the second part, that's already a nerf for their faction, because we could previously take up to 3 of these judgment tokens. Now it is now 2. So let's get into the actual table of what these judgment tokens will do to our units. So if we have 1 judgment token on one of our units because we have destroyed one of their units, if we've got 1 token, they're going to +1 to their hit roll against our unit. So if our Necron warriors, a 20 Necron warrior blob, destroyed one of their units, we've now got a judgment token, and army wide they're going to get a +1 to hit our Necron warriors, whether it's shooting or whatever, right? Melee shooting, whatever, right? So that's judgment token number 1. If we then take out a further unit, we get a second judgment token, and this is where they're going to get a +1 to the hit roll and a +1 to the wound roll, which is obviously quite nasty, especially now in fact that the toughness of certain things has gone up quite a lot, so that could actually be quite a huge factor. So you never want judgment tokens on units, I guess, but in a sense that is a weakness, because we already know from our reanimation protocols, and I know I've repeated this a few times throughout this mini-series, your opponent needs to focus fire on 1 unit at a time. So if we are using a unit that isn't being touched, and that unit has got the judgment tokens on, well, they're not making use of their army roll if they're leaving it. But at the same time, it could also benefit them if we've got, say, something big at the front, a monolith. I always like to use that example because the monolith has had some changes. If the monolith kills something, it gets a judgment token, kills something else, gets 2 judgment tokens, it's going to be very easy to take that monolith down, and therefore we're not going to make the max use of our army roll reanimation protocols because it will probably be gone quite early. So that one, it can go both ways, especially if we have got a balanced list. If we're dishing out damage from all over the place, yes, we're taking these judgment tokens, but they've then got to spread their attacks to kind of get rid of us, if that makes sense, which means we're making use of our reanimation protocol. So it all kind of is a little bit of rock, paper, scissors in terms of reanimation protocols and these judgment tokens. So that's their army rule. It's definitely been nerfed. They used to have 3. In fact, what did they used to have? First of all, they used to get these tokens a lot easier if we did an action. They also just got to select 1 naturally after our turn, and of course you could get up to 3 of them. And it wasn't just a +1 to the hit roll, +1 to the wound roll. It was in fact a 6+ to hit will auto wound, a 5+ to hit will auto wound, and then if they had 3, a 4+ to hit will auto wound. So it was ridiculous in 9th edition, and that's why they were really good. So they've pretty much taken a huge nerf in that respect, and because of that, you'll probably find that the Leagues of VOTANN model points costs are going to go down. They're going to be quite cheap. GW have sold the models, so they're looking to sell some more. And what better way to do it to reduce the points cost and then get selling more models. So yeah, that's the army rule. Let's get on to the next one, which is the detachment rule for the Oath Band detachment. And they've got Ruthless Efficiency. So this one's quite a strange one. So at the start of the battle, select 1 unit from your opponent's army, and that unit instantly starts with 2 judgment tokens. So they can instantly select anything they want. It could be a Catan, it could be, again, a monolith, whatever they want. 2 judgment tokens instantly, so they're going to have a +1 to hit and a +1 to wound against that unit from day dot. They've then got a further part to this ability, so if at the start of any of their command phases the enemy unit is destroyed with those 2 tokens, they're going to gain CP depending on what battle round they take it out of, because if they take it out in the actual image, it says the start of your first or second command phase, but realistically, you're not going to take it out before your first command phase because nothing's happened. So realistically, it's the first turn. They'll gain 3 CP if they can remove our unit in the first turn. If they can remove it before the 3rd or 4th command phase, they're going to gain 2, and before the 5th command phase, they gain 1 CP. So not only are they chucking 2 judgment tokens on our units, but they're also going to steal in some CP from the game too. Now what this could be, this could be good and bad. Again, they could select one of our, one of our best units, and they could focus fire on that unit right from the beginning. Maybe it's a large unit of warriors, maybe it's the Locust Heavy Destroyers. I mean, we don't really know what's going to be good for 10th edition, do we? But it could also be a minimum unit. If we play with a min unit of Scarab Swarms, for example, just to screen off a little area of the battlefield, they could select that. It'll be a very easy target, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and if they do it early, 3 command points. So you've got to watch out with your min units against this faction, because they could select this to just get rid of a screen, just like that. But other things of note while I've gone through this article, the ballistic skill value of the Hearthkin warriors, they went down to ballistic skill 4. So that could be an army-wide thing that they've lost ballistic skill there. They used to be ballistic skill 3. And this new unit also seems to have lost the void armor. Can't see that on their datasheet anywhere, which was, what was that? Just remind myself. We cannot reroll our win rolls or damage rolls against that unit. And also, the AP of weapons went down from, well, it went down by 1. It was reduced by 1. That doesn't seem to be on the datasheet. However, they have gone to toughness 5. So maybe army-wide, instead of having this void armor, they've increased the toughness. We've only seen one datasheet in terms of the infantry. Of course, we've seen the land fortress as well, but toughness of vehicles has gone up anyway, so it's kind of hard to work out if they've gained a bit of toughness there. So yeah, other than those observations, I reckon the Leagues of Votann are going to go cheaper in terms of points. They're going to get reduced in points. They're going to have more units on the battlefield. I'd expect at least 2 or 3 units in a 2,000 point game, possibly even more, you never know. But yeah, main things to look out for: watch out for your min units for their detachment rule, and watch out for your killer units, because they're going to get targeted with these judgment tokens with their army rule. So try to use that to your advantage and use other units that are maybe not as gettable, not the ones at the front of the field anyway. So guys, that is the Leagues of Votann faction focus, know your foe, mini know your foe if you like. We will be doing a full version once they get the index, and once they get their codex, we'll be looking at all the detachments available to the Leagues of Votann and ways of trying to deal with them. So guys, remember to like and subscribe on your exits. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.